Hey guys, how's it going? Kripp here. So today I want to show you guys the character that I've been working on over the last week or so. I've only been XPing on it maybe a full day, no big deal. But I have been in preparation for it for quite some time. So the character is a lot like my 1 week character. It's very similar in the fact that it uses pretty much the same abilities. It uses Cold Snap to freeze stuff, Shock Nova to shock stuff. I got my Rejuve totem. Main difference is that I have temp chains, and temp chains is really important because it extends the duration of the freeze by a lot, it extends the duration of the shock by a lot, and it keeps the minions alive because otherwise they may die. Now this build, although it's very similar to that type, has very distinct differences that highlight mechanics that are not often used by players playing Path of Exile, and I thought it'd be really interesting to show you guys the build, the gem selection, how it works in general, and at the end, a pretty interesting clip that you guys may enjoy. So first is, you've probably noticed that I have a lot of energy shield and an okay amount of life. This character is a hybrid character, and a hybrid character is very different from what people have played in the past. This is more of like an old style build. When closed beta was going on in Path of Exile, a lot of people were doing hybrid builds because discipline and a few other, 1 or 2 gear pieces would give you an enormous amount of energy shield. And it was just pretty easy. It was just an obvious thing to do. But after they nerfed the base discipline, after they nerfed a lot of the ES items, it wasn't quite as easy. But the reason this character is hybrid is because it's actually most effective for a summoner to be hybrid. And that sounds pretty surprising for some people. Well, in the 1 week, I made it a pure life summoner. And the strengths were that one, it was pretty tanky, like I could take a decent amount of monsters, but the most life I could really have was about 4,500, and at 4,500, that's without Iron Reflex, and that's without a few of the auras that I have here. So not everything was quite possible. The auras that I'm running right now are Grace, Discipline, Vitality, Haste, Purity, and Determination. I'm able to run 4 40% auras because I use Alpha Howl to cast the auras, and I have 10% mana reduction for the cost of the auras. And I use Discipline and Grace on life. These are all very significant because I have 8k armor, and most of my gear, in fact just about all of it, is Energy Shield. And the reason it is Energy Shield is so I have a pool where I can buffer my life because I don't life leech enough in some cases, and the character that I had in the 1 week was very susceptible to a lot of burst situations. And this was without Necro Aegis. And Necro Aegis, Necromantic Aegis, is one of the most powerful skills that you can get on a summoner because it makes the vulnerability of your minions a strength. But, because I was already suffering on life, because I was already suffering on armor, to take away the shield slot from a life-based character was a big problem. And to gain survivability, the obvious thing would be, well, you just go CI. But the thing is, you can't go CI because if you go CI, you give up on a lot of your auras. I mean, you probably could maybe do half of these, if you have good enough gear, but that's about it. And all of these auras contribute a lot to your minions. So that's pretty much the reasoning there. That's pretty much why hybrid is possible, because you can run all the auras, you can have a really high effective life pool while removing your shield slot, and this is very, very important. So what kind of shield do you get? You get a shield with crap load of resist. You want to get a base 24, and fire and lightning are very important, and chaos is also very nice to have because it's a resist you can't otherwise get. For a Ray Spectre, I use a Ray Spectre in the opposite 5-link, and then I bug it out in town and get a 5-link Ray Spectre for 1 gem, and I get the D-Gen Bear. I only have 1 Spectre. I really like having 1 Spectre because I can manage its life with my totems and with my flask, so it can never die. So far, this character has made it to 82, and the D-Gen Bear has died 1 time. So the results are pretty good. I use minion and totem elemental resistance with the Ray Spectre. So, those resist 26 plus the 24 plus the fire and lightning, it's at 75. It's not at 75 cold, but once I get in range with my purity aura, it is capped cold as well. So it's very, very significant because the minions are actually pretty resistant against physical attacks, and you make elemental you know, their bigger strength by using this combination of abilities. So the rest of the gear is as high energy shield and as high as life as I could get. You know, I have pretty good gear, but it's not really that expensive because, you know, while this is an 800 ES chest, it essentially has a terrible prefix for a CI-based character because it has life and it has, you know, 6 resist and block stun recovery, both of which are pretty useless for a CI-based character. But for me, they're perfect. So it works out very well. In terms of my ability to you know, complement my build from the skill tree, Iron Reflex is pretty much necessary because I don't have any armor otherwise. I pick up all the big life nodes and I get the same area nodes that I did in the 1 week race. The main difference is that I don't get like the minion damage and things like that because they do enough damage, and I'll show you why because of the gem selection. But pretty much I just get the body and soul wheels and a decent amount of intellect, and that's most of my ES. It's really easy to get high ES from gear. That's no surprise. And I get the Lightning Walker and all that stuff instead of strength stacking because I really need to use Life Leech. And the reason I want to use Life Leech is so I can do no regen easily, I can do half regen easily. And the way it works is I'm Life Leeching from Shock Nova and Cold Snap directly onto life, and my energy shield is regenerating from my Shavron's Ring. Shavron's Ring in the right slot gives you 4% energy shield regeneration per second and removes your mana regen. But I don't use mana. Every one of my spells uses a blood magic gem that I actively use. So I have energy shield regeneration and life regeneration, and I can augment my life regeneration, and I can life leech. The energy shield doesn't typically go back up because when you cast something with blood magic, it counts as taking damage. So you're never really regenerating energy shield because you're always taking damage because of casting stuff. So what you do is you have a weapon swap, and in the weapon swap you use the unique claw, which gives you Ghost Reaver, which makes your life leech apply to energy shield. The reason you don't often want to do this is because the resist given by your shield applies it to the minions in real time. So when you're not using a shield, your minions lose resistance. So you pretty much use this when you weapon swap. So you're just running around, and then you take a lot of ES damage, and you know, you instead of waiting it out, you want to get your ES back. You weapon swap Shock Nova, and then weapon swap back, and that should give you all of your ES back because you're using the Life Leech gem. So, you know, the rest of the links are pretty standard. I think this is pretty standard now for summoners. I've shown people that it's really, really powerful to use Elemental Proliferation on Shock Nova and Cold Snap to freeze and shock everything on the screen. Increased radius on Rejuvenation Totem. And I have found a good use for Blood Magic. Quality. Quality Blood Magic gives you attack speed on low life. Well, I use it melee splash, multi-strike, raise zombies. So when the zombies are almost dead, they do more damage. And attack speed, as you know, scales really, really well with the zombie gem. So that's some pretty good stuff there. The rest of the links, I have auras there, and probably the more important side of things is the Ray Spectre gem. The Ray Spectre gem, I use Ray Spectre with Life Leech. I use Melee Splash because it has increased radius. I use the same gem that's on my zombies. And I use the Quality Increased Air effect. So when he hits a large group of monsters, the bear fully heals pretty much. And on top of that, I have Minion and Totem Elemental Resistance, as well as... is there another one? No, that's pretty much it. Life Leech, Melee Splash, Minion and Totem Elemental Resistance, Ray Spectre, and Increased Radius. So some pretty cool stuff there. Overall, the character has pretty much proven to be quite strong. The main weakness is when I take chaos damage, I don't have that much life, and I wasn't able to get my chaos resist that high because, you know, I didn't invest that much into this character. This character, you know, I put in maybe in the gear and the gems, and considering that the gems are very, very high quality, I put in maybe like, you know, 12, 14 exalts, which for endgame character and onslaught is really on the low end. So that's it there. And I want to show you guys the strength of the build. Killing bosses. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Yay, it's Pi at 88. Okay, back off.
Okay.
Oh shit.
Where's the hood at?
Channel 69.
Tell me when she's low so I can call.
She's about to die. She's dead.
I got it.
My bear was at 100% the whole time. My zombies got obliterated.
Looks like a massacre up here.
It's official. My build is better than Totem Pillars. It's official, guys.